at a very early age, leaving him to be raised by a mother who only had a primary school education. His mother, though uneducated herself, pushed her sons to read, to believe in themselves. Dr. Cayon went from being rich, from being poor, to receiving academic awards and eventually attending medical school. As a doctor, he became the director of the pediatric neurosurgeon at the Johns Hopkins Hospital at the age of 33 and earned fame from his groundbreaking work separating the conjoined twins. My worthy opponents, if Dr. Ben Cason's future were determined by his genetics, don't you think he would have come out just like his father? Huh? Oh, I therefore suggest to you that Dr. Ben Cason's success as a neurosurgeon can be attributed to his heavenly father and the environment created by his mother. Let's come on now. We can also consider the 44th President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. According to notes done by Miller Center of History, Policy and Impact, Barack Obama had rocky beginnings. Father leaving at an early age and then later dies in an accident. Mother remarries and divorced for a second time, moving from continent to continent. Today, he is the sitting president of the United States of America. And it is not because of his genes, sweetie, it's because of his environment. What do you think about that? Do you consider yourself an unaltered copy of your appearance? Do you have a constant and expected reaction to events? Have your affective and behavioral features been agreed on during childhood or since? Or have you just remained the same? The famous Dutch writer Louis Carpier wrote, and I quote, "Man is a product of his environment," end of quote. This is true, of course. Modern research supports this. Every experience we go through, everything we see, hear, taste, smell, shapes us in some way. The way we are brought up. If we fall into a pit as a child, if we lose a match, how the winner treats us, how our coach and parents react, etc. Then there is what I call the self factor. One can shape himself or herself. Every thought matters too, and don't underestimate the power of our thoughts. We can think ourselves into sickness and depression very easily. Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, worthy opponents, in 1905, Ellen G. White, in the book Ministry of Healing, page 349, says, and I quote, "The heart of the community, of the church, and of the nation is the household. The well-being of society, the success of the church, and the prosperity of the nation depends upon home influence." End of quote. Clearly, we can conclude that it is not genetics, but our environment that determines our character. I thank you.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. In a time of 11 minutes, 20 seconds, the case being presented by Lashera Evans for the opposing team. And now we move right into the presentation by the seconders of each team. And so we call on Shavana Somerset, the seconder of the proposing team, to put forward her case. It is a person's genetic makeup and not their environment which determines their personality or character. Help me welcome Shavana to the podium.
Madam Moderator, distinguished judges, my worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen, I rise in full support of my colleague's argument that a person's genetic is determined by his genetic makeup and not by his or her environment. The nature versus nurture debate has engaged, perplexed, and divided the finest minds on this planet for countless decades, and I can see from my opponent's misconception through their argument that they too are perplexed. The most intelligent scientists on the planet have only recently completed the Human Genome Project, which allows us to map and identify every gene in the human body. The only thing that is still yet unclear is the precise function of each gene. Madam Moderator, we are not saying that the environment does not play a role. However, our argument is that scientists have not yet been able to determine the full functions of all the genes that we have. Yet, that proportion that has been determined points overwhelmingly to character formation, growth, and overall development. In other words, while there is ongoing discovery, there is sufficient and significant research in the scientific world to support the irrefutable word of God. The Human Genome Project has also confirmed that some of these genes give us a flexibility and our individuality. Our genes are at the heart of influencing who we are and who we become. So far, scientists have been able to answer the what question. However, ongoing research is hoped to one day answer the hows and whys. We know that the environment can help to suppress or help to flourish the character traits that have been passed to us through our genes. But your character and my character is implanted in our genes. Professor Siegel, in her book, Born Together, Reared Apart, discovered identical behaviors and characters in twins who were reared in different environments. In 2012, Dr. Siegel noted that siblings, not twins, of the same parents who were reared apart also have remarkably similar characteristics. Why? They possess similar genes passed from their parents. Quite interestingly, the same applies to siblings with one different parent. A woman with children but has one child with a different father, you can normally spot the child even though the child grew up in the same environment as the others. Something about that child is different from the others. His mannerism, his behavior, his appearance, and his abilities. Why is this so simple? He has different genes. There are adequate studies that have proven that identical twins who were reared apart in different homes, in different countries, influenced by different character, environment, and only met as adults, had exactly the same characteristics. They liked the same drinks and sports. They made the same career decisions and responded in similar ways to stimuli. How is this possible? Genes! The mystery research in 2012 found that nature outdistanced nurture with characteristics such as personal traits, diseases, and personality traits. And interestingly, the rearing home environment had little effect on factors such as vocations, as occupational interests were also substantially guided by genetic potentials. Professor David Rowe recognized the influence of genes even in the behavior of sportsmen, and he stated on page 43 in Sport, Media, and Culture, and I quote, "Children's behavior to sports is more influenced by their parents' physical abilities in sports and practice than their home influence. Children's genes are the root of their knowledge before Children's genes are the root of their behavior, even in their abilities in sports. I wish we had known this knowledge before. We could have bred some of the best athletes this world have ever seen by encouraging the best athletes who have gone on to have larger families." End of quote. The May 11, 2012 2012 issue of the Daily Mail reported that Usain Bolt's breakup with his then-fiancée, Lubika Slova. Excuses for the breakup include lack of time to dedicate to the relationship. However, a sport researcher countered that argument and listed suspicion as a true reason for the breakup. The paper suggests that the Slovakian Sporting Authority had contracted to pay millions to Lubika if she became pregnant for Bolt so that they could get a future Slovakian athlete of Bolt's caliber. With his speed, with his agility, with his ability, with his style, with his charisma, with his character, the genes, Madam Moderator, the genes. Miss Slova was paid handsomely to birth a bull in the Balkans. And by the way, Canada has offered full citizenship to Usain Bolt's future athlete. Coincidence? Of course not. The Mizzle twins, Oscar and Jack, twins of American and German parents, who were born in the US but separated at birth. Oscar was raised as a Catholic in Germany, and Jack was raised as a Jew in Trinidad. At the age of 47, a meeting was arranged in Minnesota. There was absolutely no contact between the men before their meeting. When the twins met at the Minneapolis International Airport, they were both wearing blue shirts with stripes, wire rim glasses, and both sported identically shaped mustaches. Another coincidence? Of course not. Their preferences were influenced through their genes. And though these men were raised in different countries, different continents, and different cultures, the environment was not strong enough to alter their preferences in choice of clothing. Psalms 100 verse 3 says, "Know ye that the Lord He is God, and it's He that has made us, and not we ourselves." The scripture is saying that the environment cannot and does not determine who we are. God did that in the creation process through our genes. God in His wisdom did not leave our character and our decision-making capacity to the dictates of the environment. He creates us with the ability, our preferences, our characteristics, our susceptibilities, our ability to overcome, in other words, our character within our genes. On page 373 in the Ministry of Healing, Sister White wrote to inspiration, and I quote, "Many children have received as a birthright almost unconquerable tendencies to evil. What a profound and sobering message." However, Madam Moderator, she further stated, "But if the mother unswervingly adheres to the right principles, if she is temperate and self-denying, if she is kind, gentle, and unselfish, it is very likely that she will give her child these same precious traits of character." End of quote. We all have distinguishing traits from our parents and grandparents. As my colleague said, character is transgenerational, whether it's looks, our height, our temperament, our behavior, our aptitude, our attitude, our tendencies, or our likes. The divine spark of God that was given to the first man was passed on to each of us through the ages in our genes. Yes, the only way that these characteristics could have been passed to us is through our genes. Our genes make us who we are. The environment can help us to fulfill our calling, or it may restrict our achieving our goals. But the environment cannot and does not determine our character. Our genes do, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, Shavana Somerso, Seconder of the Opposition, presented her case in a time of 9 minutes 16 seconds. We now call on Rensil Blake, the Seconder of the Opposition, to present his case. Everyone, welcome. Mr. Blake to the podium.
Honorable judges, my knowledgeable opponents, esteemed audience, good evening. The topic of debate this evening is whether an individual's character or personality traits are influenced purely by their genetics or that of the environment. My opponents will have you believe that a person's character is somehow determined basically by their genetic makeup. I wish to highlight several reasons as to why the environment is the prime factor for shaping an individual's personality. The phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," is one that is familiar to us all, I'm sure. And I believe that it speaks for itself. As sociologist Edwin Sutherland points out, criminal behavior, or any other kind of behavior, is learned in the same way that any other thing is learned. How to eat, how to speak, how to tie your shoelaces, etc. According to him, the principal part of learning takes place in intimate groups. Through the process of communication, people are products of the environment. You will recall this Bible story of Ruth. She was a Moabite most of her life. She grew up in Moab, worshipping Chemosh and learning all the Moabite customs and beliefs associated with that province. However, upon moving to Bethlehem of Judah with her mother-in-law, Ruth put those beliefs aside and her heart began turning towards God. The environment that she was in, the people she surrounded herself with, that was what made a difference. You see, it is not a question of simply inheriting a behavior or behaviors from family that makes a person do things a certain way or determines who they are. There is a system embedded in our brains that shapes our character because of the genes that we may or may not possess. Almighty God blessed us with the gift of free will. The Spirit of Prophecy, Volume 3, page 328 says, "It is Satan's plan to weaken the faith of God's people in the testimonies. Satan knows how to make his attacks. He works upon our minds to excite jealousy, dissatisfaction, hatred and anger, rebelliousness, until, of course, good counsel has but little weight, and an instruction given to vision is disregarded. Next follows skepticism in regard to the vital points of our faith, then doubt as to the Holy Scriptures, leading us to stray from the faith and develop a character, a frame of mind, if you will, that only ends in destruction and is almost incurable. Our mind, that is what the enemy preys on. He sows seeds of doubt and poisonous ideas into our minds that eventually grow and get us to commit deviant acts and engage behaviors that distort our relationship with God. And how does he do this? He sends certain people into our lives, ensuring that we surround ourselves with negative influences that change our personality from one of good to a detestable nature. It is not genetics that cause us to develop a specific personality and exhibit certain kinds of behaviors. Does it mean that an individual whose father or mother was a criminal, that he will automatically do the exact same thing when he grows up? Does it mean that if a person's parent has a tendency to be quick-tempered or easily angered, then that person has no choice but to inherit the same personality? Come on. My colleague and I are not saying that genetics do not affect a person's character. In fact, we agree with our opponents that it does play a role. However, my colleague and I, we are of the firm opinion that the environment is a distinguishing element in determining that person's character. Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 23 says, "I know, O Lord, that a man's life is not his own. It is not for a man to direct his own steps." We are shaped, ladies and gentlemen, by the environment that we live in. According to physiological studies, for example, children who grow up in violent homes are 6 times more likely to commit suicide, to engage in delinquent behavior as an adolescent, and also more likely to become abusers themselves. In fact, these studies affirm that individuals who are abused or in any way exposed to deviant behavior are much more likely to develop shrewd personalities and pose a problem to themselves and other people later on in life. A person's character is not determined by his or her genetic makeup. In Messages to Young People, chapter 19, Ellen White speaks of character, and I quote, "The first 30 years of the life of Christ were passed in the obscure village of Nazareth. The inhabitants of this village were well known for their wickedness, hence the inquiry of Nathanael. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? The evangelists say but very little in regard to the early life of Christ. We have the brief account of his accompanying his parents to Jerusalem, and the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him." End of quote. Christ is our example in all things. In the providence of God, his early life was passed in Nazareth, where the inhabitants were of that character that he was continually exposed to temptations, and it was necessary for him to be guarded in order to remain pure and spotless amid so much sin and weakness. Now, one may argue that because Jesus Christ is God's Son, he genetically inherited God's perfect nature, and therefore would have no choice but to be perfect. However, Christ did not select this place himself. His heavenly Father chose this place, Nazareth, for him, where his character would be tested and tried in a variety of ways. His earthly parents, Mary and Joseph, also did their part in nurturing baby Jesus and teaching him the ways of God. They surrounded him with an environment that was perfect. The early life of Christ was subjected to severe trials and hardships and conflicts, that he might develop the perfect character which makes him such a wonderful example for children, youth, and men. Children and youth are frequently situated where the surroundings are not favorable to a Christian life, and so they yield to temptations. My church family, these points clearly outline the strong hold that an environment can have on an individual and his character. The constant lure that exists which seeks to make that individual conform to the environment's habits and customs and personality traits. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33 says, "Do not be deceived, bad company who wins good morals." Romans 12 and verse 2 says, "And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect." Environment, not genetics.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting his case for the opposition, Renzel Blake presented his argument in a time of 7 minutes 22 seconds. Okay, it's now almost time for rebuttal. Both teams have 5 minutes in which to prepare their rebuttal. 5 minutes. Usually we engage, maybe throw out some buzzwords to the audience, but because we don't want to distract from the preparation, we're going to just control ourselves. We may discuss among ourselves quietly, and we give the debaters a time, 5 minutes, give me 5 minutes on the clock timer, to prepare their rebuttals. In 5 minutes, we will hear from the teams again. As much as possible, keep it down so that they can concentrate. Okay. We are ready to wrap up with rebuttals. The rules of debate state that the opposition present their rebuttals first, and so we call on the leader of the opposition, Lashera Evans, to present her rebuttal case in a time of 5 minutes. Please help me welcome to the podium, Lashera Evans.
Good evening, once again, to my fellow opponents. Just a couple questions. Mr. Kenyatte, you said that we are built with genes, two that contain our personalities. What evidence do you have that we were built with such genes? And please tell me, what scientists over the years have not been proven wrong? Let's look at chemistry, physicochemistry. Dalton's atomic theory. It took over 5 chemists to prove that his idea of what an atom looks like is wrong. And next question for your second speaker. She said that you say both children are most likely to come out with a gene that has speed within them. What source, what evidence do you have that his children will 100% come out and be athletes? Thank you.
Okay, we have the opponents, Lashera Evans, presenting her rebuttal in a time of 1 minute and 7 seconds. Can we now call on the proposers and the leader, Kenyatte Tyson, to present his rebuttal, and he has 5 minutes in which to do this. Let's welcome Kenyatte Tyson to the podium.
Just as I predicted, flowery words, but they miss the point. We acknowledge that the environment has an effect on your character, but it is not the determinant of your character. Your genes do. A seed must be planted for the mighty oak to grow. In other words, if you have the gene for intelligence, it does not mean that you should be a truant and not attend school. It just means that school would fan the flame of intelligence that you possess. As a matter of fact, the new buzzword in science is epigenetics. And this is what my learned opponents are referring to when they discuss the influence of the environment. Epigenetics is a study to determine how and what turns on and off our dispositions in our genes. It's new science. Science has abandoned the archaic thought that environment is determining factor, and is now researching how the environment affects our genes. This is what distinguishes our debate from the illusion. We are sticking with the facts. Madam Moderator, after my colleague spoke about mother raising child and their tendencies so profusely, the opposition still found the bravery, the courage to say that. And my colleague quoted, my colleague said, and I quote, "But if the mother unswervingly adheres to right principles, if she is temperate and self-denying, if she is kind, gentle, and unselfish, it is very likely that she will give her child these same precious traits of character." End of quote. They spoke about criminals, Madam Moderator. Our opponents are in the right place for an education. Our genes are at the heart of influencing who we are and who we become. Regrettably, the Molecular Psychiatry Establishment reported in October 29, 2014 that it has discovered a link between criminal behavior and genes. The MAOA1 and the CDH13 genes are the culprits. The scientists are now agog with this discovery, epigenetics. The process has started. Again, the environment contributes, but it is not have the ability to determine, as all the science confirms, our genes have the flexibility and adaptability to our surroundings. Madam Moderator, they also spoke about the carrots and how they are not showing warlike behavior in the mountainous region they now live in. Madam Moderator, I would like to shut down that point, please. Because genes, although they come from genes, well, history told me that the Arawaks and the Caribs, yes, the Arawaks and the Caribs, they, even though they inherited their different lifestyles, they have, genes have affected how they behave in the environment. As we said, adaptability. Now, in the Caribbean plantation slaves, the planters, they separated the men from the families. And as a result, the women were tasked with raising the child. The men only saw their child when they were planting on the plantation. And as a result, this tendency of the absence of the father has affected our society today. She spoke about Barack Obama and how Ben Carson and his father absent. That is the reason. And there, I would like to say that that's my case.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there you had Kenyatta Tyson, the leader of the proposition, presenting his rebuttal in a time of 4 minutes, 23 seconds. Okay, at this time we will give the judges some time to deliberate, and then the head judge, Leroy Pemberton Jr., will come forward and make a presentation on behalf